We are actually experiencing a new history for my country, and this new history is extremely extraordinary, because the first time we have the Syria without Assad from 52 years. This is the first time we acknowledge that we have a voice to raise. This is the first time we feel the victory that all the operation, all the damage, the destruction that have been done from the regime and from the supporters of the regime is now, we are now experiencing the justice. For the first time in the history of Syria, the people of Syria is knowing what's the meaning of justice, is knowing that they own their country back. They are now responsible about their country. They are now in a new phase, in a new history for their children, for the new generation. They feel the responsibility that this country should be rise again with all the efforts from all the civilians, from all sectors. So we are actually witnessing a new phase in Syria, and this new phase will affecting all the Middle East. We will not actually, we will not be as before the supporters of Assad or the fear of speaking out from the Assad regime. So we will see a new phase in Syria history, and we hope that this phase will start quickly. We are welcoming all the opportunity to rebuild the new government in Syria. The good thing about this revolution is that we learned from the other experience of the history of other countries. So we know that in every revolution, there is the people are before they are not knowing each other. The regime was actually dividing the Syrian community. They were dividing the Syrian community to people who are very conservative and to people who are very modern, and they are like their first part to support him, which is the bourgeoisie or sector. So we know now that, learning from other experience in Turkey, that now the people are start to know each other. The suburb villagers people, they are knowing now the capital more. They know what is the capital, how is the people are dealing with each other, because there was a kind of division, as I said, during the 52 years from the regime, that actually making the people afraid from each other. So now we are united. We are actually knowing more about Idlib. We saw the suffering of other cities. As a capital, we suffered from siege, or financially, economically. There is a huge poverty. We saw how much the oppression of the regime in the prisons, the torturing of the people who dare to speak up against him. So now the people are united, especially in the revolution. They used to work with each other. The people in Damascus, they used to work with the suburb of Damascus. They used to support each other. They used to document what's happening. So now we re-owned again Syria after we knew Syria in the revolution. The people start to visit the other places in Syria. They knew now about Qamishli. They knew about the sources of Syria, how much Syria is wealthy, and how much the regime was actually putting Syria in a level that it's not giving the civilians the opportunity to grow. We didn't grow during the regime. There is only a specific class that the regime take care of it in order to facilitate their corruption. So the people there in Syria, they were corrupted, and there was during Bashar regime, there was a kind of division between classes. So there was a poor. Of course, there is no poverty in Syria before the revolution, because we have sources. It's not about him. We are a country that have all the sources, so that the people can have their kind of security by having their own house, because Syria is wealthy, And we see now the stories about the Syrian traders in Turkey and Egypt, how they built their own empire. So yes, we have this new phase to know each other more now and to listen to each other. We should say that we need someone who's believe that that we can be controlled of the power of justice, which means that we need to have a system. We didn't have a system. The system that we used to have is based on the regime system. Now the situation is different. We need to have someone who's in power, who can control the Syrian society, but without blood, without undertaking the dignity of any person. There should be a very strong system from punishment to making a good rules to the people to follow, but with, of course, we have to forget that this prison for torturing, there should be many facilities from the government to let the people learn what is the process of being under the rules that giving you the right to get what you want without making this authorization under fear. To be, unfortunately, some of the, not all of the, we cannot say that it's not treated in a just way. No, we are considering that we are now taking our freedom back. We are considering that we are treated injustice in some ways, like for example, tracking the crimes that been done from the regime, the soldiers, the commanders that been considered to be criminals in all the prisons that we saw in like Sednaya or the intelligence security buildings. But there is a kind of injustice in the part of involving the women in this critical period to take an action towards what's happening. Especially the woman is suffered a lot during the war, from raping, from detains, from losing her children, losing her families. So I feel like there is a kind of not giving the full power to the other part. And now we are seeing that the military action is taking against the crimes that happened from the regime, tracking the detains, tracking the people who were arrested, trying to support them. But again, we are looking forward to contribute all the parties together in order, even in this critical 3 months before the new government to take an action later, we should actually make the kind of interact between the civilians and the new government, because there is a lot of rights or lists that the civilians wants to discuss and negotiate with the new government, and it should be like a kind of coordination between even the female side with the government side, because there is a lot of because the women should have a big voice now during this kind of transaction and during this kind of emerging, the freedom of Syria. Nothing will be a dream. We are now trying to take action. Every step to build a new country, it should be organized. There should be a huge establishment from all around the countries, that from the government of the countries to contribute in the democratic transaction to these people. So nothing can be a dream. We cannot say dream. The dream always come true when we have the belief that Syria will actually stay will be back again for their civilians, and we have to work hard to accept each other. Once we will have a discussion group from all the parties of Syria to discuss how we can cooperate together as Syrians to rebuild, especially to build a trust, to build a kind of forgiveness, and to track those criminals and to see that justice transaction is taking action, and to contribute from all the parties, women and men, and also children, to contribute with the new phase of the new government in Syria. We are accepting each other. In the revolution, we start to know each other. Now we start to know that there is a kind of people who are very conservative. We start to know that there is a people who are very secular. We start to know that there is people who are in the middle. There is people who didn't speak, and now their time to speak. So there is a lot of sacrifice from both parties. People who stay without speaking under the operation of the suppression of the regime, now it's time to breathe again and contribute economically, financially, in the military side. Even the women are looking to be involved in the military side. We are looking to have a kind of a security side for the women to be trained and involved, because we know that there is a lot of ex-regime followers that they don't want this to happen, and they are very, very afraid from the extremists, and this should be not be the case. We have to work together to prove that this kind of, it's not extremists. We are taking care about the country now. They need to clean the country, and we have to build a new Syrian army, and we have to involve the women in the new transaction. So once the people will be having this kind of dialogue groups together to put an agenda, to put a program, each city should have their own, nominations for their, for their city, like Homs or Hama. Each city should have, or each village should have their representative, in order to have this dialogue, how we can contribute to take Syria for a new phase. Unfortunately, my sister got arrested 2012 for 15 days in Palestine security forces, and we used to run from one side to another to support us in order to get her out as soon as we can. So we used to go demonstration. The place that I used to live witnessed a lot of revolution. I saw a lot of arresting, a lot of humiliation that been done from the security and intelligence security of the regime. So we saw a lot of torturing from my friends when they get arrested, and we saw how they were attacking the peaceful demonstrations. So we also wanted to help the part of Homs from the medical part, and we used to go to Homs to see what's happening during the shelling in the hospitals, in the civil hospitals. So my sister get arrested. We managed to get her things inside the prison, but we managed also to put wasta or supporters in order to get her out as soon as possible. She gets suffered physiologically. In the physiological part, we used to support her to get over what she saw, and plus I get threats from many different groups that support the regime. So and I get attacked from the regime soldiers to my house, to my relatives' house. So I had to flee away out of Syria in an illegal way. And also my sister later, she also get prevented from leaving the country. So we have to take her, smuggling her out of Syria, because also she was exposed to a lot of threats, because this kind of community was not accepting anyone who speak against the regime. Once I left Syria, I promised myself that I have to know more about the revolution, what's happening, what is this war about. I left my capital, my city, my home, and I was smuggling inside the suburb area from North Aleppo to the Kalamund. Whenever I have the chance to help any journalist or any organization in translating, in knowing more about the humanitarian condition for the camps, I was involving myself. I was involving myself to know more about and documenting and translating about the detainees from the prison, from the women's side, So yes, I was like happy, and I have this kind of strong will to know more and to have to build this memory, this history to myself about the biggest revolution in the history, which is the Syrian revolution about against this dictatorship. I was like trying to help the people when we go any demonstration, to help the people from when they arrest any teenager, any person. I was like involving myself and negotiating with this soldier or with the shabbih in order to get this this innocent person out of his hand in order to not be inside the jail. So I was like trying to also document what happened with my friends inside the prison. I was like trying to work with many foreigner sides who came just to cover the situation in Syria in order to show them what's happening in many areas inside Damascus, from operation, from invading, arresting inside their houses, what's happening to their children inside the prison. So yes, I was involving myself to capture all these people and release them. Plus, I was tracking what's happening inside the prison from the people who get out. We are actually impressed about what's actually starting to emerge on the social media to the world. The people who worked in documenting the torturing of the prisoners are more than amazing, because they actually deliver the voice of these victims and what was used to happen. So the media coverage over all this documentation about these prisoners till now is fair enough, but we still have a lot of work to do, because there is a lot of massacres that been happen, and there is a lot of people who are still missing. So the process is not finished yet, but till now what we get is good to help us to condemn the regime in the international court in the future. The Syrian people are suffered a lot. They lost their history, they lost their families, they lost their origins, they lost their houses. There is a lot of people who've been smashed in front of their relatives. Their house has been smashed. So we get a lot of pain from the regime itself, from the supporters of the regime, and from the countries outside. Nobody's actually support us in order to keep our dignity and to fight for our voice, for our freedom. Now we have the right to build our country again without the interfere of anyone. We have to experience and we have to learn from our mistakes, and we have to show the world that we don't have a kind of what we say, that the kind of the same fellows of the regime as we say that we will have to show the world that the Syrians are capable to build their country again under the transactional justice, and we have to show them that we will forgive the people who are not involved in the crimes, because without courts and without working in the civil society sectors to start to rebuild the personality of the Syrian again from the beginning, to forgive and to start to involve in the political life and how to restructure the new government in Syria. So we get a lot of suffering. We get a lot of restriction from the other country. We know this, but we have a lot of successful stories outside Syria and inside Syria. So we will bring this resilience and this stories and this successful people to Syria again, to show the world that the dream of victory is true, and we will be one of the iconic samples of the history that structure the history of the Middle East in the future. Thank you so much. I hope that we'll see in this year, the second year, the first year, Syria without al-Assad. So this is the future for us.
لمدة 3-4 دقائق الأجوبة اللي بدنا إياها اللي أعطيتيها أنت.
It's not easy to talk about these 14 years. Actually, they were full of many kinds of suffering. Just being a witness on this amount of cruelty and to see your people, to see your beloved ones suffering from everything, to see your city destroyed. It was not easy to stay in the country for those 14 years. And many times we lost hope. But in my heart, deep down in my heart, I never lost hope. Because I never lost hope in people, in the Syrian people. I always believed in the Syrian people, and I knew that we can change our destiny. But I didn't expect that this change will be that fast. So yes, it comes at the end. I am very optimistic because after those years of war and revolution and seeing all those kind of suffering and all those kind of injustice, now we are not the same. We know how to change our destiny, and we know how to build our country the way that we want. So yes, I am optimistic, and I am trying to work forward to build the new Syria. Not only me, but also many of my friends and people that I know. We are here to build our country the way we want. The situation is not easy, it's complicated. It's not only about the Syrian people and the will of the Syrian people. It's many factors are affecting our destiny now, but I am sure that we are here to make the vision of our country to come true, the vision of our country to come true, and to reach the future that we want to reach. For me, this is not true at all, because Syria is a very old civilization. We are here 5,000 years ago, and we live all together 5,000 years ago. We live. We share everything. We share culture. We share the past. We share the present, and we share the future. So, not understanding the other is not sense, because we are living together since the beginning of the history. So for me, it's not easy. It's not easy to walk and to deal with all what we suffered, but we can understand each other and we can live together. My message for the world is if some people were in pain, the world will not be able to rest. So I send the message for the world: don't be blind when you see people in pain. It happened with us in Syria. The world left us for a long time, and now it is happening with Palestine. The world is leaving them and being blind on their pain. I want to tell the world, if one people is in pain, you will not live safe.